things look a little different. I can't figure out what it is, but something is definitely different. You probably know what it is because, you've got this whole mystical thing going on. And anyway, never mind. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk to you about, Muse, today is romance. I know. Please don't. We're not going to, no. No, listen. For the longest time, Muse, I was nothing but a horror writer. Horror. I was nothing but that kind of writer. I wanted to scare people. I wanted to send people into their closets. Not actually out of their closet. No. Under the bed. No. Under their covers. I wanted to send people straight under their covers so they would shudder in fear at what they read. And to me, romance had no business in that universe. None whatsoever. None. Zero. Zip. Not a zilch. But then something happened on the way to the forum, and romance started seeping its way into my work. Now, it really did kind of start with iZombie, with Bethany and Jacob, and then later on with Bethany and someone else. And it wasn't intentional. As you know, Muse, I tend to write organically. So I just let things happen the way they want to happen, the way you, Muse, want them to happen. And so I allowed it. Now, fast forward to now. Just for fun. I started watching this TV show. And I'm not going to say which TV show it is because it's kind of embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. The show is Grey's Anatomy. I never thought I would watch a show like that. But I did. We started watching it. And, of course, me being who I am, I immediately start recognizing the parallels to Scrubs because I find that every modern medical drama or comedy has its roots in Scrubs. That's not the point. So start watching this show and immediately I'm like, no, all this is going to do is it's just going to be about romance and doctors hooking up and blah, blah, blah. And well, that's kind of the thrust of it. But before that actually kicked in, you started caring for the characters. Now, I don't thrive on that kind of character building. To me, whether or not characters hook up in a TV show makes no difference. In fact, I have watched plenty of television shows and plenty of movies and read plenty of books where there is no hooking up. And I don't mean sex by hooking up. I just mean getting together and having a relationship. Just not a part of it. Doesn't matter. But the truth of the matter is that to many people, those relationships really do matter. And I think, this is just my own little theory, I think that the reason they do matter is not some heightened level of fantasy. I think it's something by which people can make comparisons to their lives. They can watch this television show and they can say, oh, I've been through that with a relationship. This is how I dealt with it, and that's how they dealt with it, and my way was better or their way was better. But it's a good way for us to get grounded. And it's a good way for us to experience a certain immediacy with what we're watching. Now, go back in time a little bit. Sorry that I keep jumping back and forth with times. But at some point, and I really do think that it's truly embedded itself for me with my steampunk series. Because I set it up intentionally. I set it up such that there were two heroes in this series, and they happen to be husband and wife, and they very much love each other, and they express that love for each other even while they're in battle. So they'll be knocking heads with the bad guy, and right before one of them clangs a bad guy on the head, they say, "Oh, I love you, dearest," to their spouse. And for me, that became a vehicle to develop an interesting aspect of a relationship that happens to be a part of a sort of vigilanteism. So these two vigilantes are not only tough on crime, but they're madly in love. And I think it was that series that, and there's only 2 books, and I promise that I will get to a 3rd book, but it was that series that made me go, hey, adding romance isn't that bad of a thing. In fact, it gives me more layers. Because I don't know any people in my own personal orbit that have never experienced a relationship on a romantic level. And everybody that I do know can immediately relate to those romantic levels. So, for a long time, I had that opinion that romance had no place in X genre. But the truth of the matter is, it has a place in just about everything if it's done right. Now, we're not talking about the actual romance genre where it's all about, the big sexy, having sex, and corsets, and other various and sundry aspects of said romance and relationships. I'm not talking about that kind of romance. I'm talking about intimate relationship. And I sometimes have a different view of intimacy. Intimacy can be experienced between two people simply by sharing space. A shared silence between two people can be intimate. Just spending time with someone can be intimate. To me, this is getting a little too personal, but to me, the single most intimate thing you can do with a person is sleep with them. Because when you're asleep, you are at your most vulnerable self. And you allow someone to sleep with you in that state. You have to truly trust someone to put yourself in that level of vulnerability. But I think what I'm getting at here, Muse, is that I have become okay with writing romance into my books. In fact, the book that I'm going to jump back into, Beautiful Complication, didn't start out as a romance. Started out as something completely different. And then, by way of my nature of writing, I realized that the main character needed a foil, a romantic foil. So I tossed one in. And Dracula Theory. To be truthful, Dracula Theories is as much a gothic romance as it is a horror novel. Because Jonathan's primary focus for doing what he does for the Baron Murray is to win over the hand of Mina Murray. And how that happens in the end, 'tis a secret until you read the book. And I guess ultimately what I'm getting at here is that if you have any other conversations with other writers, you might want to impart upon them that they should never discount or discredit any aspect of humanity in their work. Because we are truly multifaceted creatures. And it is all those facets that come together to make a whole. So if you happen to have a pet peeve, not a pet peeve, if there's a part of the human condition that you have said, I'm not going to write about, reconsider that. Especially if it's something like romance. Reconsider it, because you never know. It might add more depth to your characters. And more depth, always a good thing. Anyway, that's all I got, Muse. Romance. It's what's for dinner. Because you, my friend, are awesome.